Welcome back. If you're a person that gets really upset when things don't go your way or initially not how you planned them going, this video really might be for you. If you feel yourself being very reactive to situations, more reactive than you would like to be, this video is going to give you some really great insight around this. If you find yourself saying words like always or never or everybody, the worst situation, just always using absolutes like that, this really might be a video to change things for you. Some of you might already identify that you use that type of language, but in case you're about to write yourself off of that possibility and think, nah, that doesn't sound like me, I'm going to give you some examples and I want you to think really carefully about these, because chances are you have probably said these to yourself or maybe even to other people. So things like nobody is ever there for me, or things always go wrong for me, or that person is the worst toward me. Things always escalate in the worst way. When you use language like that, this is the type of examples that I'm talking about. And if you think back to a recent event where something's not quite went your way, you've been really upset or disappointed or angry, if you were able to freeze frame in that moment and just notice what's happening for you inside your own mental stage up here, you probably said one of those things to yourself, even though you might not realize it right this second. If you could back then freeze frame, you probably would have heard one of those phrases. So stick around. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into this all or nothing or black and white thinking and how to get into a new perspective so that you can be less emotionally reactive. So I am a licensed trauma therapist and I help people who have experienced trauma reclaim their life back, break through the crap so they can actually have the life that they've been dreaming of. And if you have been using these types of phrases when you're already sort of emotional, upset, disappointed about something, you can understand why, if you take a look, like a step back, why using that type of terminology would just escalate things even further and make you feel worse. So like a random example might be that you come home from work and you go into the kitchen and you notice that kitchen's a mess, no dishes have been done, your partner hasn't did that part of the household chores, and feeling that disappointment or that upset, you then spiral into, well, they never do anything that I ask them to, they're never a person who has my back, they're just the worst, they don't communicate, and saying all these sort of extreme terms and ways to explain that person. You can literally feel, even me talking about it, that it gets you stressed and tense and just sort of creates this tornado around this initial feeling that popped up in the first place, and now you've just sort of added more gasoline to it. So why would we do this if this is actually potentially the worst thing that we could do in this moment? Well, there's lots of theories and different perspectives. I would be here for hours going into all of them, but I'm going to talk about three in particular that I think is very common every day that gets overlooked. They're not the only reasons or examples, but for now I'm focusing on this specific three. The first is that we are kind of stuck in a tendency to confirm the way that we already feel. We're not really open in that moment to pausing and getting other insight or the bigger picture. So if we're already feeling angry, we're looking for more reasons to confirm why we should be angry, i.e., yeah, they're always the worst person, or whatever it may be that you're saying. So to reconfirm how we already feel, it can also often give us a way to sort of place the blame on somebody else instead of taking any responsibility ourselves in that moment over how we are feeling. So it's always their fault, they're terrible at communicating, they just don't think of other people. Whatever it is that's going through your mind, it's a way to place blame solely and only outside of yourself. And the third one is that we direct it toward ourselves instead of other people. And we kind of start swimming in a feeling of self-pity and almost potentially massaging more of that feeling like, yeah, I'm just the worst person. Life is never going to get better. There's just sort of no point in even trying this, and I'm going to be lost forever. I'm fundamentally broken. All these sorts of things that bring more and more of that self-pity about ourselves, toward ourselves. It's almost like a faux sense of comfort, except it's anything but comforting. It makes the situation worse. Look, I get it. I get that this has probably been happening for you, and it happens to everyone. I've even gotten stuck in those types of moments too. We're all human. This is something we're all capable of doing. But we're also capable of change, of becoming less emotionally reactive in this way. But before we're there, maybe when you're watching this video or figuring out what it is that's going on for you, you're resonating with the things that are being said. It's also just accepting that we're human, and that's just easier for us to do. It's the easy way to make everyone else the villain and us the victim. It's easy just to confirm how I'm already feeling. It's easier rather than me putting in the effort to pause and look at the bigger picture, the other context of this. So, like an example might be realizing, okay, yeah, they made a mistake there, but it's been a while since they done that. Or, you know, the other day when I was stuck on something, they actually really helped me, so I guess they're not like this all the time. Or if it is something that's happening regularly, going, you know what, maybe they don't realise they're doing this, or maybe they don't mean to upset me in this way, but maybe I should just have a conversation with them about this. Just taking that distance away from the crap that's buzzing around up here. I'm just saying crap to generalise all the stuff that can come up with what we're talking about. Getting yourself into a space of stillness just for a second to look at the bigger picture can really, really help us break free of this emotional reactivity where we're swirling around with all this stuff. Think about the bigger context. Listen, I want you to be curious about this in yourself. Just approach it with curiosity, because if you can be curious, you get to be different. And I'm going to say that again to make it go in. If you can be curious about yourself, you get to be different. Being curious means that we need to go into a space of observation, stillness, and really looking at ourselves just with compassion and curiosity. You know, what stories do I have playing out when something happens? Am I creating more drama for myself in that moment and not realizing it? You know, if you're waiting on the friend calling you back, you feel disappointed. You know, am I making stories there about me? What am I making it mean? For me to reconfirm how I feel, to think in these extremes, to blame the other person. You know, have you got stories about, you know, what, something terrible happened, they realise that I'm an awful person and they just don't want to be my friend anymore? Or whatever other drama story, that spike, that stress. Are we just bouncing around from spike to spike, story to story, that's just creating more of a storm for us in that moment? Now, when you notice this happening for yourself, take a minute, take a breath, like a long, slow breath, just to catch perspective for a second. Because if you don't stop, you'll miss that window completely. Stop and take a breath. And really get down to the bottom of what it is that you're actually feeling in that moment. Like, what is the core of this? Is I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling unheard. I'm feeling angry. If you ask yourself that question, what am I feeling? And you start going into, I feel like they just always do this, or I feel like things just don't work out. That's not a feeling, that's a thought. If you're saying the word like after I feel like da-da-da, that's a thought, that's a perspective, that's a narrative, it's not a feeling. So what is it that you're actually feeling in that moment? If you pause, you'll notice it pretty quickly, what it is, and just accept it for what it is, that feeling. Nothing needs to happen with it. In fact, you just labeling it, noticing it, and sitting with it for a few seconds will immediately discharge it quite significantly, just doing that. And that's so much less effort in the long run for you than all the drama, all the extreme black and white thinking that makes you feel like crap anyway. Get a snapshot of what it is that you're feeling in this moment and just accept that that is how you're feeling. So when you do that, I want you to ask yourself this question. You can save this video and come back to it to repeat this experiment, because it's going to change things really dramatically for you. If you can nail this on a daily basis, it doesn't take that much effort. The version of you that you'll see will be so different being able to do this. And you are able to do this. It's asking ourselves what I'm paying attention to, what I'm feeling, this emotion that's going through me that I'm accepting as the way that I feel. Noticing the thoughts that come up with that, the stories. They always do this. No one is reliable. I can't connect with anybody. Whatever the stories are, asking, is this a thought or is this a truth? And what I can bet before is when those thoughts come up, you're accepting them as a truth, that it's 100% truth of reality. But what it actually is, and I can guarantee, is a thought. It's a story about something based on that feeling that you were in. It's not a truth about the world, your life, or you. When you do that, you're cutting yourself more slack, and you're cutting other people some slack too. You're recognizing there was a story going on, and now arguably looking at it more responsibly like an adult and not from this emotionally reactive place. And when you're doing that, you automatically calm down a lot. You automatically communicate a lot better, and you automatically can navigate the situation with a way better outcome possible now, because you've taken that time to pause, notice this is a story, these extreme black and white thinking that exacerbates it all, and it's not actually potentially what's really happening. There's other nuances to the situation. Start thinking about those nuances. You know, that person had a lot going on for them. I know that there's something happening with their work that was stressing them out, or, you know, some people just forget things sometimes, or, you know, maybe my phone was on silent as well, or I didn't actually tell them when I was available for this, so maybe we kind of miscommunicated there. Thinking about the more nuance of it makes all of those things automatically happen, feeling less reactive, calmer, able to communicate better, and actually get a better outcome from the things in your life, things you need to address. So this is the way forward. If you feel like you've been a really emotionally reactive person, you're not enjoying the mood swings that you're having and the kind of disaster thinking that's going on, rewatch this video a couple of times. I will also post some links to some stuff that might help, whether it be my services or other links to other places, other books perhaps, some resources to help with this. And of course, if you feel like you want a one-to-one support, consider therapy for yourself to help expedite this process with some guidance. So hopefully this video was useful for you. Give this video a like. If so, comment below your experiences. And until then, I'll see you next time. So if you feel like this video has been helpful to get some perspective on how to move forward out of this emotionally reactive place so that you can be more grounded, more patient, able to communicate better, and not feel like you're experiencing these disaster scenarios all the time, let me know down below, drop a comment what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.